boy Mookie is at the stage of his career where he had to get what he deserved, and I don't think, the Red Sox, we have a very high payroll, and I don't think our owner want to go past that.
That was David Ortiz talking to Phil Perry back in 2020, advocating trading Mookie Betts. 2 years later, the Sox find themselves in a similar position with Xander Bogarts and Rafael Devers, but this time, Big Papi singing to a different tune.
They know how it is to play in Boston. Trust me, playing in Boston, it's not for every type of player. These two guys, they grow up there. You would know what to expect from them. You know what they're going to give you. So that's why sometimes I don't understand how come organizations sometimes walk away from that. And they prefer to explode some other options. No, I mean, I would go with what I know.
Welcome into Early Edition with Trenny, Amina Smith filling in. We got a full house. Steve Buckley of The Athletic. You got John Tomase, Phil Perry here with me now. And you guys heard Big Papi Ortiz advocating for Xander Bogaerts and Rafael Devers to get those extensions, to get those deals done. Tomase, I'll start with you, though. We know his voice holds weight. However, is he going to get John Henry to actually act?
No.
Long story short, no.
That is a big no. Yeah, I mean, David Ortiz is, effectively a fan, and he's a fan of these guys. He played certainly a long time with Bogarts. He saw Devers come up through the minors, and his opinion carries, unfortunately, about as much as all of ours put together. I know fans hear that and think, oh, maybe ownership will feel some pressure. No, they've dealt with David Ortiz's statements and outbursts and things like that for years.
Steve, no pressure at all from David Ortiz to John Henry to get this done?
John's line about the fan was my little 3x5 card I was going to talk here about. But David Ortiz is a Hall of Fame inductee, or he will be next month or this month, and he's ambassadorial now. And he can say things, come on, sign him, because it's not his money, and he's going to be that guy moving forward. And frankly, I'm surprised that he didn't say it about Betts a few years ago. And he wants those guys to come back. I agree with him, but his opinion doesn't count, as mine doesn't either.
No, I think his opinion counts much more than all of ours put together.
It doesn't.
It won't end up mattering, but John Henry hears him. He doesn't hear us.
No,
he's still on the masthead on RedSox.com.
John Henry's thrilled that he's saying.
John Henry saved his life, John Tomase. He cares about what David Ortiz says. He does care about this guy.
I don't have a comeback to that.
He's going to the Hall of Fame. I think he does care a little bit. And listen, whether or not it actually works, whether or not
he does not.
Okay, that's your opinion.
He doesn't.
It might not move the needle, Buck. It might not move the needle at all. However, David Ortiz is Red Sox fans' only hope. He is their only hope, because the only way that John Henry ever ends up signing either of these guys and spending real money to keep great players in-house, spending money that he has, is if the fans somehow move him to do that, because it hurts him eventually in his wallet. Maybe he feels eventually the blowback is such that he has to make some sort of move, otherwise it ends up hurting them at the gate. That's their only hope, and so I'm happy that David Ortiz said this today.
Tomase, just how stubborn, though, does this make the Red Sox organization look? That even Big Papi Ortiz can come out and urge them to, make these contract extensions, and then they're just still like, hey, maybe we might do it, we might not do it. We want to get it done, but it takes two to tango.
Yeah, I mean, their whole thing now, you hire Chaim Bloom, and the idea is to win without the massive payroll, and sadly, frankly, it is to win without $300 million contracts for Mookie Betts or Xander Bogaerts or Rafael Devers or, down the line, Marcelo Meyer, if he's as good as people think. Like, this is what they are trying to build. So this idea that Henry can be convinced is no. Henry has the guy in charge to carry out the game plan that he wants executed. And Phil, I mean, you're being naive when you say that David Ortiz's voice can affect John Henry in any way. I will grant you this.
So those guys are gone. They should trade them, and they should punt on this season. It should all be over.
Well,
blow it up.
There's a halfway.
It's not worth it.
I think
that's what you're saying.
I think there is a shot of that. I think there is a shot.
Well, they should do that. If that's how you feel, and these guys aren't going to be back, that's what they should do.
Don't yell at me.
You're calling me naive.
I want to say this as quickly as possible. In 2019, Bruins played the Blues in the Cup final.
This
there was
relevant.
An off night I'll get to it.
Okay.
There was an off night. We all went to a Cardinals game. We were on the Budweiser deck or something. And that's the night that it occurred to me that baseball is the only sport where people go to the games to watch the game nominally, but to hang out and eat hot dogs and have parties. You can't do that at a Patriots game because every game, the outcome's the end of the world. Basketball, you're in a confined space, same with hockey. You go to Fenway Park. I was there Saturday night, Section 31 with some friends. It is such a party atmosphere that it is less about the players than it is, not as much about the players than it is about the venue. I think the Red Sox recognize that or think that, and that they can move players in and out and just bring in the next guy.
I don't think you're wrong. I just think it's a little sad when an owner and I'm not saying he should make every decision based on how the fans feel in their hearts. That would not be a good way of doing business.
Thing connect with you,
but
though,
he should be paying attention, and he should have his pulse.
I agree with that.
And when he has the money that he has, he should be keeping his best players. I'm sorry.
Well, John Henry has had a lot to say. Yesterday, we discussed John Henry's comments to the Boston Globe in which he said it takes two to tango when it comes to contract negotiations. There was also this quote that got our attention. The game continues to change and evolve. Everyone's focus is salaries, and which I totally understand, but there's a lot of money being spent by clubs on baseball operations. There's been an arms race in that regard, which nobody seems to understand. It's hugely important because there's so much data being injected into the game. It's not just analytics. Everything is on the table. Nutrition, sports science. I mean, Tomase, I take a look at that quote, and I know how much money the Red Sox organization has. They're like $3.9 billion. But sports science and nutrition, is that the area where all the money is going, where they can't pay players?
Yeah, so Amina, I think this quote is being misinterpreted. I don't think that John Henry was saying we can't afford players because we just hired another chef. What he's saying is with the expansion of analytics and science and all of this stuff, we have new ways to evaluate players. And to me, what he's really saying is we don't have to spend hundreds of millions of dollars on players because we have the tools to identify the diamonds in the rough because we're smarter than everybody else. And that's what this whole era of baseball is coming down to. I think it kind of speaks to the Chaim Bloom approach. It's that we're smarter than everybody else. We don't need to spend because we're going to find these other guys. This is how we're going to do it.
Did you read it that way, Buck? I didn't read it that way at all because he goes on to say, I don't think people understand the arms race that's going on for these types of people. That, to me, implies there's a lot of money being spent on this that you guys don't know about. So don't come after me telling me I don't spend on my players because look at all this other stuff I'm spending on.
I agree with John, but with an asterisk. I mean, I agree with that statement, but the manner in which he delivered his message invited misinterpretation. And I think look what you did just now. You took a nice little bite and you put it on a screen and everybody's outraged, as everybody should be outraged, because I thought it was tone deaf by John Henry to say it the way he did. And it makes it sound like because we hired a chef or a masseuse or another kid from Stanford with a calculator, we can't afford the next big superstar.